Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and it's always a great time having my next guest on the show. It's Cody Brundage, who will be back in action April the 13th at UFC 300 when he takes on Bo Nickal. Cody, how are you?
I'm good, man. Just finished up some sparring, so the week's closing down a little bit. I get to recover and then back at it Monday. So
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe February is almost over. Is it seem like that for you too? Like this year is already flying by.
yeah, my daughter, she turned 3 on Tuesday, so I'm feeling extra old and extra like February's getting run through pretty quick. But yeah, and just like how long I've known about this fight, it
Yeah.
seems like they called me before Christmas and we're only 5 weeks out now, 6 weeks out. So yeah, it's flying.
When you first got the call and you heard the name Bo Nickal, I have to imagine you jumped right at that opportunity, right? It's such a big prospect, a young guy that's getting a lot of hype. Like, what were your immediate thoughts when you heard the name?
So when Val Woodburn jumped in on that fight in June, I was actually trying to put my name in then. So I'd already kind of expressed interest in that fight, and um, I feel like I manifested it. I told my wife the day before my coach called me. I saw on Twitter something that Bo Nickal's going to be on 300. They're looking for an opponent, and I told her, I said, you know who I'm going to fight next? She's like, who? I'm going to fight Bo Nickal at UFC 300. She's like, no way. Like they're going to find some. There's so many people in the division. I was like, no, you watch. So coach called me. He's like, "Hey, I got an offer for you." I was like, "Is it Bo Nickal at UFC 300?" He was like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just had a feeling." And my first question was, "What do you think?" to my coach, which normally is what it is. He's like, "I think if you show up to your potential, you can beat anyone in the world." And he doesn't say that lightly. So, and I feel the same. I feel good, man. I feel excited. It's a big opportunity. It's a big card. Um, and I got some good momentum behind me right now, and I feel like I'm catching them at a good time.
Yeah, and Cody, I feel like the casual MMA fan may sleep on you a bit, but the people that really follow the game know how good you are, know how talented you are. When I interviewed your teammate and friend Dustin Jacoby, he said that nobody in the gym can hold you down, like or get you down. Like, if you do get taken down, you pop right back up, and it's just a nightmare trying to keep you there. Well, you know how good of a wrestler Bo is. Has he fought anyone in the UFC like you before?
No, and I feel like I know he has a lot of hype and he's earned that with his credentials. I would never take that away from him. But if you look at his strength of schedule, there's 100% you have to say I'm the most dangerous, most experienced, most well-rounded, best fighter he's ever fought. There's no other take other than that. That's just facts, right? Um, and when you look at my schedule, I don't know if you could say that about him. I don't know if you could say he's the most dangerous dude I've ever fought. I don't know if you could say uh, he's the best striker I've ever fought, the best jiu-jitsu guy. In fact, I know you can't say those things, right? You can maybe say he's the best wrestler. Um, but even that, like his MMA wrestling, we haven't really seen too much of it, right? Like we've seen it in one fight. You would imagine it's really good. Obviously, he has the credentials, but there's a lot of unknowns, and so yeah, I feel like I'm far and away the toughest opponent he's ever faced, far and away the most dangerous guy he's ever faced. And I look forward to kind of putting him in the fire a little bit. I feel like I kind of made my name off that my last fight. Zach Reese, similar situation. Obviously not as much hype, but I was told he was going to run through me. He's finished everyone. He's 6-0, all these things. And I just knew, man, experience is a big deal. And I've been in the fire. I've been the hammer. I've been the nail. I know how to react in those situations, and Bo hasn't been there. No fault to his, but he
Yeah.
hasn't, and it's my job to put him there.
And obviously, he's getting some high level looks in training, some world class athletes around it. But there's one thing to be, in their training and sparring, light sparring, versus like actually being in the octagon for a real fight, right? There's a big difference. Do you feel like there's just going to be even that much more of a difference versus, what you can do come fight night versus what he's getting in training?
Yeah, and I don't even really put too much stock in the fact that he's training with good guys because he's at his own thing, right? Like he's an ATT guy. We see Mike Brown in his corner, but for the most part, he's training in Pennsylvania at his own gym, Happy Valley ATT. He's kind of built a team around him. But he's not training with like those killers at ATT. He's not training with like the Dustin Poiriers, the guys like that. If he is, it's like a week at a time. He goes down there, trains for a week, and so he's not getting super high level looks. He obviously I'm sure has good training partners, but it's not like he's training with world champs or anything like that. And I don't think he's getting put through the fire. I don't think he's getting put through the paces. I just finished 4 rounds with Rob Wilkinson, who's a world champion up a weight class, right? I know I'm getting put through the paces. I know come fight night, I've been through the fire. I'll be ready to rock. And he doesn't. But the other thing is, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
He's never been cracked in a fight. Once again, like people are going to hate on me for saying this. They have been, right? But it's just facts. I'm not crediting him. I'm not saying he won't be able to take a punch, but who knows? We have no idea. He's never been hit in a fight. So he doesn't even know how he'll respond to that,
Mhm.
right? Anyone that's ever fought can tell you what happened the first time they got cracked in a fight, what their thought process was, what happened. He doesn't know. It's never happened. And it's going to happen under the brightest lights in front of the biggest audience he's ever fought in front of. And we'll see. We'll see how he responds.
How would you say the power that you bring compares to the other guys in the division? Do you feel like your striking is one of the better that we're going to see at middleweight?
Well, I feel like my striking gets slept on a lot because I come from a wrestling background. But and people just don't like me, right? Like I can accept that. It's just a fact of what it is. And like Adolfo Vieira, for instance, right? I know I lost that fight. Uh, but he fought Chris Curtis. Everyone respects Chris Curtis's striking. They think he's one of the better strikers in the division. He fought Armin Petrosian. Everybody respects that. Everyone respects that dude striking, thinks he's one of the better dudes in the division at striking. No one's put Adolfo Vieira on skates like I put him on skates.
Mm,
I had him on skates the whole first round. I rocked him multiple times, dropped him, almost put him out of there. And so I feel like my striking super slept on. Put Tresean Gore out. Everyone said he was a great striker. He was this kickboxing kid that was gonna make a run. He had a lot of hype behind him. And so I have one shot knockout power in my hands. I have good footwork. I'm fast for the division. I obviously have good grappling because I come from that, but I'm not just a wrestler anymore, right? Maybe when I first started, I'm a wrestler, but I put 4 years in training with guys like Dustin Jacoby and Rob Wilkinson and these guys who are super high level respected strikers. And fortunately for me, I've been able to grow and adapt. And I feel like, I'm just as good at striking as I am at wrestling. I really truly believe that. And I feel like I said, the danger factor, I'm super dangerous. I can sub you, I can knock you out. I have good cardio. So I just feel like I possess a lot of tools, and like I said, I haven't performed to my potential. There's no secret about that. If you ask anyone in the gym, they'll tell you the same thing, and it's frustrating, but it's also reassuring to know that I know that performance is coming, and when it happens, people, a lot of people will be surprised, but the people that are around me won't be. I don't think.
right. Dustin Jacoby, you mentioned him, world class striker. So if anyone is going to be able to critique your striking, it would be him, right? Like, what has he said about the evolution of your stand up game?
Dustin's funny because everybody's like, "Yeah, man, get your blend going, show your wrestling." He's like, "Bro, you just need to start standing with these dudes because you're gonna knock them out." That's what he told me my last fight, and that's what he told me this fight. And he's, again, I don't have like yes men around me. Everybody that's around me is going to tell me the truth and what they think, and that's why I have him around me. And so he doesn't say that lightly. He doesn't say it to make me feel good. He's like, if you get in exchange with this kid, you will knock him out, and I believe it. If Dustin believes it, I believe it. So there's obviously like some small critiques here and there about like, hey, maybe your hand placement should be here, like more technical type stuff. But yeah, he has a lot of confidence in my striking, and as do I. And I think that'll be the difference in the fight, to be honest.
Speaking about the people that you have around you, please give us an update on Coach Montoya, how his health is doing currently.
So, coach plays it pretty close to the chest, but uh, I think this last year was really hard. I think he's kind of on the come up a little bit and figuring out, it's a big adjustment period. You lose a major organ and just the mental fatigue of it all. But I feel like he's kind of on the come up and in a position where he's feeling better. He's training more. But even on days when he didn't feel good, like this whole last year, he was still training. He was never really telling anybody. Um, but he's doing good. And I feel like that mental drain is gone a little bit. It's still there a little, but it's definitely gone a little bit, and he's on the come up for sure, which is good for all of us.
Yeah.
He's definitely the leader of the gym, mentally, physically, emotionally. So how he's feeling definitely reflects on our performances and how we're feeling.
Yeah, I didn't really understand just how bad things were until I saw what the UFC did and like the video that they put together. So nothing but prayers to him. I haven't had the pleasure to interview him just yet, but one day down the line, I sure hope to do so. He just seems like a phenomenal coach, but even more so, just like a better human being.
Oh yeah, I always say that he's a great coach, but if I quit fighting tomorrow, he would still be a intricate, important part of my life. And I feel like that's the sign of a good coach, right? Like he obviously makes great fighters. We have a world renowned gym, but there's not many shitty people coming out of Factory X, and that's a testament to him and the culture that we're building there.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Let's talk a little bit about the last fight that we saw you. Big win over Zach Reese. That was in December. Man, the slam. I don't know what was going on that night with all the finishes like that. But when you landed that, did you know that it was over? Like, what did I mean? Just run me through your emotions at that time.
Yeah, so came out in the fight, and I kind of felt the same way I feel about this fight, to be honest. I feel like he hadn't been through the fire. No one had really pushed him, and I'm a vet now. Whether I like it or not, it's still hard for me to believe that. But I'm going on 10 fights under Zuffa, which is quite a bit. And I landed the first right hand. We got in an exchange, landed the right hand, and the whole fight changed from there. Um, I think he maybe stopped after that right hand landed. He probably stopped believing he was going to just
Mm.
run through me, and I got in on a takedown off a slip. I think when I slammed him, I didn't know he was out, and I don't, even if I did, I don't have the confidence to hit one of those just walk off KOs. I just don't. I'm like, man, I need to get paid. I got to take care of these kids, so I'm gonna hit him until the ref pulls me off. But yeah, man, it was good. It was good for my confidence. And a lot of things, like it was only a minute and a half fight, but a lot of things happened in that fight that I felt like were things I've been working on behind the scenes, right? Like I was patient, I was more present than I've been mentally, which is a big thing. And I wasn't in a rush to get out of there. Even though it was only a minute and a half, I was just kind of letting the fight happen how it happened and reacting instead of trying to overthink and force things. And like I said, I think it puts me in a good position going into this one to have done that under the lights in front of a crowd and kind of carry that momentum to the next one.
He looks strong, man. Like, is that the case when you were in there with him? Did you feel like how strong he was?
Man, this is gonna sound so probably like a tool, but I feel like I'm one of, if not the strongest dude in the division. I really feel that. I work really hard on my strength and conditioning and just explosive power and strength. I feel I don't really ever feel out strengthened there, and so um he probably is strong, right? He's probably a strong
Mhm.
dude, but I don't know, man. Like I always joke before that fight. It's funny in the gym. Like people put on a sub, and obviously I'm not slamming my training partners, but I'll pick them up and be like, "Man, that'd be a slam," and they're all like, "You can't just slam your way out of everything." I'm like, "That's not true. You could
Yeah,
if you can curl the world, you can slam your way out of anything."
right.
And so it was funny to get the finish that way, and then come back to practice on Monday and just hear everybody kind of happy for me, obviously, but just kind of giving me crap because I'm always telling them, just slam your way out. That's how we do it. So, but yeah, strength wise, I'm sure he was strong. You're not in the UFC if you're weak, obviously,
Mhm.
especially at 185 pounds. But I just feel physically, I feel really strong. I have a great strength and conditioning program, and we push it really hard. So I always feel good in that aspect.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you had kind of a rough week leading up to that fight. You lost your grandfather the same
Yeah,
week, right? Yeah, I'm really.
yeah. So I lost my granddad on Wednesday, and he was on hospice. We kind of knew like it was coming. But it's hard to watch. Like he had bad dementia and so like it's such a weird thing, right? Like for anybody that's gone through that is like you kind of want it to be over because it's
Mhm.
not a good quality of life, but at the same time you're losing someone that's known you your whole life, right? Like he's known me my whole life, so um it was sad, but it was also like okay, you can
Yeah.
breathe a little bit. I think like for my dad, it was really tough. Like he's obviously really close with his dad, and I know he was sad, and I talked to him a lot in the week leading up to it, and we were in a good place, and he's like, do it for Papa, and I had good motivation, but it was also like kind of not a I don't want to say relief because I think that sounds horrible, but it's like okay, you're in a better place, you are in a better place, and
Mhm.
but yeah, it was a tough week. I feel like I can't ever get a smooth fight week, man. Like poor me, right? But I just feel like I can't. Like my debut, I got my daughter's diagnosis, lost my granddad. Like it's just I always feel like there's something terrible always, like no matter what. So like just try to like roll with the punches a little bit, prepare for that. But yeah, it was a tough week, but uh getting the win, I think it was important for me and it was good for me, but just my family's reaction and like my dad was he was like a little kid almost. He's like they said my dad's name on ESPN and like I just think it was bigger than that and it was important for my whole family and so that made it feel even better.
Yeah. Well, first off, I just wanted to my condolences, man. I was really sorry to hear that, and I'm not going to go too deep into this because I don't want to get emotional during an interview here. But like it's been 5 years now since I lost my father to cancer, and I remember the end, when he was on hospice. And I hear what you're saying. It's mixed emotions. It's tough. So I get it, man. I get it, and I empathize with you. I just wanted to address that real quick, and I'll change the subject because I don't want to cry here doing this interview. But one thing I wanted to say to you, man, that I was going to give you a little bit of crap if this was the case. I saw something that you posted on Instagram of you rocking a Rodman jersey. Was that a Spurs jersey?
No, it's Bulls, but it's just
Okay,
a black Bulls jersey.
gotcha. Well,
Yeah,
that's
I got
what.
a few Rodmans. I got his Lakers jersey and I got his Bulls jersey.
Okay, very good. I
I
just
just
wanted to
try to
make
cut.
sure.
I don't know. It's weird. People are like, "Are you a fan of these teams?" I'm like, it's not even that I'm a fan. I just like the retro of like fame, like not famous players, but like players that kind of had like an edge to them. Like I got Rodman. I just got the A Train, Mike Allstott. That's pretty
Okay,
in the creamsicle jersey. That one's
yeah,
pretty dope. And then I got Sean Taylor.
Sean
So I just got
Taylor.
some guys that I'm like,
Yeah,
these guys are kind of just bad dudes. So
got to get a
my
Ray
next one
Lewis
I'm gonna add, I
jersey.
think, is gonna be Romanowski. I think I had to add that one.
Ooh, that's nice. And if you want to get another NBA jersey, Ron Artest or Meta World
Oh
Peace,
yeah.
that'd be a good
But
one.
should I get the Meta World Peace or just keep it Ron Artest? We'll
You
have to
gotta go. You gotta
decide.
go back to the melee in the palace. Get a Ron Artest
Oh
jersey like
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. I'll get him and Ben Wallace just for
Yeah,
continuity's sake.
yeah. I just wanted to make sure that was a Bulls jersey. I didn't see the front. I just saw the back, and I was like, "Is that a Spurs, Rodman?" I'm hoping it's a Bulls one. So I'm glad you went the right route there.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, big win, and that was the first fight on your new contract, right? So you still have three more.
Yeah, three more on this one, and then but I go handle business against Bo. Like I think I'm gonna, and I have a strong inclination that we'll renegotiate. I won't have to fight it out.
Okay. Yeah, very good, man. Before we transition back to UFC 300, I wanted to get your thought on some of the fights, but update on your daughter, your family, everything good, everyone healthy?
Yeah, everything's good. Like I said, she turned 3 on Tuesday. She's such a hard worker. My wife's such a hard worker. It makes it easy for me to kind of push and not make excuses just because, it gives you good perspective. And I've talked about it. I won't harp on it too much, but my wife's a rock star. My daughter's a rock star. And now my youngest, she's always going to therapies with my daughter now too. So that's kind of what she's going to grow up in. But I think it'll be good. I think being around other kids can give you like kids that are kind of struggling with like real things, serious things can give you good empathy and good perspective. And so I think that's a good thing for both my kids and my wife and for me.
You guys gonna have any other little ones, or is this it?
Uh I don't it depends on the day when you ask my wife. I wouldn't mind, I had four brothers and a sister growing up. I wouldn't mind if we had one more, maybe two more. I want a boy. I know it's probably not gonna happen, but
Yeah, well, hopefully you get that, man. That would be fantastic. My wife and I are working on our first one, so I'm hoping that maybe later this year that actually comes to fruition. But always good, hearing the positive things going on in your life, man. I'm glad that everything's going good with your family. Let's talk a little bit just to hear about this UFC 300 card. First off, just your excitement level to be on such a huge event. This card, top to bottom, is freaking amazing. There's not one bad fight. Every fight is like something that you'd see minimally on like a fight night main card. Like they're all awesome. So like what's it, like your excitement level like?
yeah, it's cool. They announced Jamal and me and Jamal kind of grew up on the same regional scene. We held the same belt at one point for lights out. He was the light heavyweight champ. I took that belt after he went to the UFC, and so it'd be cool to share a card with him, come kind of full circle to UFC 300. Like I was telling you earlier about like don't let people take your joy or your passion. That's like the worst thing. Like it was awesome to get on 300, and then immediately it was kind of rough because everyone's like, "Why is Cody Brundage on this card? Cody Brundage is trash." And like, listen, I'm a very logical person. I feel like I'm a pretty intelligent person. I understand that I'm on the card because I'm fighting Bo Nickal, but I'm not gonna apologize because I'm on the card. You know what I mean? Like people almost were acting like I should be apologetic that I'm on the card or I should be happy to even be on the card. I'm like, man, it's awesome. I'm on it. It's gonna be such a fun time. It's such a big event. It'd be fun to have my family out there and just have those memories. But I'm not happy to be here, right? Like I want to take everything Bo Nickal has, and that's how I feel. And So like that was kind of rough for a little bit, but then you get over it because you're like, whatever, these people are idiots.
Mhm.
Of course I'm happy to be on the card. Of course I'm excited to be on the card. Why wouldn't I be? I shouldn't have to apologize for that.
Right.
But yeah, it's gonna be cool, man. It's gonna be like you said, I feel like every fight on the card could be a fight night main event or co-main. And so yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome to see just kind of, the UFC, they have great production, they have great fight weeks. I'm sure it's gonna be a special week in Vegas and I'm sure it's gonna be popping. So looking forward to that for sure.
Do you think the walk to the octagon will be different? Do you think you'll feel different? The nerves will be any more than usual?
I'm sure though. I'm sure just the not even that it's 300, but just like I know what this fight does for me, right? And so I'm sure I'll have a little more nerves. This would be the biggest win of my career, even though I don't necessarily think it's the toughest opponent. Name value, it's the biggest win of my career, and it like I said, it does a lot for me in terms of renegotiating and providing for my family, and just puts me on a 3 fight win streak and does quite a bit of things. And so that there will be some nerves for that, but it's exciting, man. When
Yeah.
Fantasy by Mariah Carey hits the speakers, people are going to go crazy, and it's going to be a good time. I'm interested to see where I'll be on the card. I know they kind of released like some projections, but
Mhm.
that'll be interesting too for me to see.
So that's the walkout song. You're not mixing anything up.
No, I did. I had Dolly 9 to 5 for the longest, and then my last 2 fights I changed it to Mariah Carey Fantasy, and both of them they kind of do the same thing, just get the people going and excited, and it keeps me from being too serious, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm already pretty hyped. I don't need something that's gonna hype me up. Just something I can have fun with, the crowd can have fun with. So yeah, that's gonna be the walkout. We'll keep it.
Okay. All right. I love it. You mentioned Jamal, man. He's got his hands full with Poatan. Pereira's a scary man. How do you see that fight actually playing out?
Jamal, his striking is really awkward. And sometimes for a guy who's world class kickboxing, he's used to like, this is the response you give when I do this. This is the response you give when I do this, right? Like, because he's done it so often, and that's always the response he gets against high level kickboxers. Uh, when you fight someone who's awkward, it can almost make you look bad. And so, Jamal saying his plan, and I believe him, his plan is come out, strike, knock this dude out, and typically I don't think that that's a great plan, right? Like Sean Strickland, case in point. But at the same time, uh, Jamal's never really been hurt in a fight, so I have to imagine his chin's pretty good. He's fought some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Uh, so I imagine his chin's pretty good, which obviously you need a good chin if you're going to fight Pereira. He has an awkward style, and I don't really even think like people are like, why won't you wrestle? Why won't you do jujitsu? I don't want to shit on his ground game because I know he has a good ground game, but that's not his game. So you're asking a dude to completely change what
Right.
he's doing. He's the champ of the world. He never lost that title. You're asking him to do something completely different that he's not used to doing, and I don't think that he will do that, nor do I think he necessarily should. And honestly, I think he gets it done. He has a lot of power. Pereira's shown he can be knocked out, especially in like kind of a wild exchange or hurt in a wild exchange. And so I think Jamal gets it done. He has supreme confidence, and uh, yeah, man, I don't know. That's just my gut feeling. It's gonna be
Mhm.
a crazy fight. It's gonna be a really good stand-up fight, which is what people want to see. I just
Right.
think Jamal gets it done.
I can't wait for that fight, man. There's so many fights on this card I cannot wait for. Another one I wanted to get your take on is the Gaethje Holloway fight for the BMF. I got to be honest, man. I love Max Holloway. I love Justin Gaethje. I mean, I think both of these guys are fighters that everyone just likes, right? They're fan
Yeah.
friendly style, but I don't like this fight for Max. I think it's a dangerous one for him. I got Gaethje. Like, do you think the same, or do you think Max could actually get it done?
It's you never want to count Max out, but it's just a tough matchup. You're talking about a volume striker who doesn't like it's to me. We watched this fight already. We watched him fight Poirier. It's a super similar fight. One guy really has the big power advantage, has good cardio, trains at elevation. It's not like he's gonna get tired or kind of gassed out and then picked apart. Um, he has really good leg kicks, which Volk has kind of already shown you can find some success with leg kicks against Holloway. And then I think the leg kicks slow down the mobility, which is Holloway's main advantage. He has really good mobility, really good speed. The leg kicks take all that away, and then it becomes like if you're standing in front of Justin Gaethje, good luck, man.
Mm,
And there's a size advantage. I know Holloway's like, I'm not coming in like I did last time. I'm going to be way bigger, but you can only get so much bigger in 4 months. And yeah, I don't think it favors Max. Like I said, I don't want to. You never want to count him out. He's a champ. He's a really good fighter, but I think that's Gaethje's fight to lose. And then it's interesting, like what does that do to the featherweight division?
Right.
Because they're saying like, oh, it doesn't count against him, and he's next up. But I don't know. Also, like a fight like that can put you out for a while, right? Like
Right.
if you get in a war, whether you get knocked out or not, you might be out for 6, 7 months. So, kind of a big risk for both guys, but maybe big reward, as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it's kind of bad timing for Max too, right? With Volk just losing the belt, like he realistically could be stepping in, to fight Taporia next. But really interesting matchmaking by the UFC. I think Dana is going to announce one other big fight for UFC 300, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think it's going to be? Like, do you have a hunch, or what would you like to see?
Um, I thought it was gonna be Leon and Bilal, but it seems that's probably not gonna happen. I guess they offered Leon three people and none of them were Bilal, which seems
Weird.
kind of insane and unfair, but it is what it is. I don't know what it'll be. I thought Tom Aspinall maybe could find his way on the card. It doesn't look like that's probably going to happen. There's no one really for him to fight, I guess. So I don't know. I would imagine maybe another girl fight if they can find like a good matchup that makes sense. Um, but I can't imagine it's gonna be like a title fight or anything like that. I guess we'll see.
I think the new 185 champ Drickus said that he would be open to stepping in and fighting again soon, defending his title. Who do you think gets the next shot? Is it Izzy? Like, where do you feel they go for his first official title defense?
Well, I think if the UFC wants like really capitalize and make the most money, they're gonna do Izzy, right? Like that's their
Mm.
biggest star right now. But if they're serious about doing UFC Africa, and here's the other thing, like they already tried this, right? They were like, well, we'll throw Sean Strickland in, make the pay-per-views, Izzy will beat him, and then we'll have Izzy DDP. But then Izzy lost, obviously, changed their whole plan. So do you risk DDP Strickland again when it close? That was a super close fight the first time. Strickland beats him, which I'm not saying Izzy Strickland doesn't do numbers, but Izzy DDP in Africa is
Yeah.
like huge, right? So I guess it just depends on when they want to go. But that would be, I mean, if they add that, that would be pretty amazing. I mean, this card's already so legit, but if you
Yeah.
have what's that, four title fights, you have Izzy, Gaethje, Holloway, I mean, Jamal
Amazing.
Pereira, like that's a huge card. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I know he promised huge things, but you got to think like the rest of the year too. Like you're taking out your biggest stars in 299 and 300. Like, so what are you gonna do the rest of the year? But I don't know. I guess we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what other fight they add and if it's a title fight or not.
I mean, International Fight Week is the end of June. It's actually on my birthday. That's
Nice.
always an amazing fight card as well. I wouldn't mind seeing another title fight, but it's already stacked as is. One thing I wanted to piggyback off, you were talking a little bit about Sean Strickland. I understand you trained with him before. Is that accurate? And what was it like training with Sean Strickland?
No, I trained with Chris Curtis
Okay.
in Rio. I was a 2-0 amateur and we were just rolling. And Chris is a super nice guy. He was not trying to like dominate me. He wasn't trying to beat my ass. He was just being a good training partner. And the whole time Sean was like, why are you letting this thing be close? Why don't you kill him? You should beat his ass. You should do this. And yeah, and that's what my experience was training with Sean Strickland. I don't know, bro. MMA is like a circus, right? It's unbelievable. It's a total freak show. In one breath, you're saying like, don't come at me about my family. You can't talk about a man's wife. You can't talk about a man's past or things like that. And then in your next breath, you're telling Ian Gary he's a cuck and his wife is a predator. Like it just doesn't make sense, bro. It doesn't make sense, and it's really to me, it's disgusting. And like, I'm glad that hasn't happened to me. Um, I would not respond the same way some of these other people do. I feel like I'm a pretty level headed dude. I try to be pretty composed, but I don't just say like you shouldn't do that. I really believe that. And so if people brought that to me, it would be problems. And I'm not saying, oh, I'll beat your ass. I'm a tough
Mhm.
guy. I can beat all your asses, but I'm not gonna sit there and let it happen either.
Yeah. I
So that's one thing. Like, I don't know. I was out there for Dustin's fight. Obviously, he fought on 296. I feel like that's where everything kind of, not that it hasn't, MMA hasn't been this before, but that's kind of where it like reached a peak of like just disgusting comments. And it was hard, one, to be a fan and then realize like this is what people see. And when I tell people I fight in the UFC, this is what people think of us. Right. And so I don't know. It's gross, man. I feel like we fight, we hurt each other physically. You don't need to do all the extra shit. It's never been my style. But, you know, and also like This is just lack of perspective from people. I
Mhm.
think. I think these people don't have any perspective. Like, how are you telling people how to live their life, what relationships they need to have? Like, let's be honest. At the end of the day, what you're good at is punching people in the face, and you're really good at it. You're really good at fist fighting, one of the best in the world, sometimes the best in the world. But other than that, what is your expertise to tell people this is how you should be a dad? You don't have kids. What's your expertise to say this is how you should be a husband? You don't have a wife. Like, so don't tell people how to live their life when you're an expert with no expertise. You want to tell me how to throw a jab? You want to tell me how to fight? I'm all ears. Absolutely open to you telling me that. But you want to tell me how to live my life? It's insane. It's crazy to think that these people think they're experts and can tell you how to be a strong man, how to be a strong individual. I think it's laughable and it's just super goofy to me. Like, who made you the expert on what a strong man is? And then the fans, like all these fans that are in our DMs telling us, you're a nerd, you're a piece of shit, you suck, you're a coward, are telling Sean Strickland what a strong man he is. I'm like, none of you know what a strong man is, right? And that's sad. Part of it's sad to me, right? Part of it's sad to me because the whole thing with Sean Strickland, like he's telling everyone how to be a strong man, and his whole childhood he never had a strong man around him. So where is he pulling this? This is the example I had of a strong man, right? You're just making it up as you go. I've been fortunate. I've had strong men around me my whole life. I'm very thankful for that. My dad, my stepdad, my grandfather, my father-in-law, right? Like my brothers. I have strong men around me everywhere. To my teammates, my coaches, like, so I see it and I'm like, this, I don't just say this is how you should be a strong man. I'm like, this is how they do it. And I'm just gonna try to replicate what they do because I believe that, and I get on a rant because it's crazy to me how like you can tell someone how to live their life. It's probably one of the most upsetting things to me in MMA. Um, and like being a dad, being a husband, I'm not a huge Ian Gary fan. I think he does a lot of stupid shit. But the way that people went after him, his wife, his kids, to me it was disgusting, and I felt like Sean Strickland was the head of that, and so to me that's disgusting. And then also like Sean Strickland said shit about me on his podcast, which to me seems like low hanging fruit. Like I'm not gonna go talk shit about a regional fighter because we're not on the same level. Why would I talk shit about you? I'm not gonna knock you. We're not ever gonna see each other. This isn't like I'm not building a fight. I wouldn't do that anyway. But even if that was my excuse, I'm building a fight. It's never gonna happen. So what are you talking shit
Mhm.
on me for? So I felt like I caught shots for no reason, and um, I don't know. Not a fan.
Hey, I agree with everything you said. I think that was perfectly said. I didn't realize that that was the case. I interviewed Josh Fremd recently, and he had mentioned that you had trained with Sean. I didn't realize the specifics about it. What did he say about you on his podcast?
So they were talking about Cedricus Dumas. I think they were breaking down like a fight he had coming up, and they were like, "Well, and Chris was like, "Well, he beat Cody Brundage, right? Like he's pretty solid." And then Sean's like, "Well, Cody Brundage sucks." And I think his exact quote, like, not safe for work. I think his exact quote was, "His dick doesn't get hard enough when he gets in there," which to me is just like, I don't know, man. It's childish. It's silly. Uh, I can never be me, and I'm not like, oh, I'm so mature. I'm so much better than these people. I don't know. She's just goofy, man. It's super goofy, and it seems like a character. I do think he's a little bit that way, but it seems like a character, and it's hard for me to respect that. I feel like love me, hate me, whatever. There's one thing I've always promised myself in this sport that I'll be, and that's genuine. And what you get from me is what it is, and that's who I am. If you were to meet me on the street, that's who I would be. And so I have confidence in that, and I can be happy about that.
Mhm.
My daughter's never gonna watch an interview that I do and be like, "Wow, Dad, you're an asshole," or "Wow, Dad, what the hell is this? This isn't who you are. You don't act like this, right?" And I'm proud of that. I always think like if I'm doing an interview, my mom's gonna watch this, so I need to be respectful. My kids are gonna watch this. Other kids are gonna watch this, and I'm not saying that we're role models, but there is a piece of that. You need to be a good person that can also do things that good people don't do. We're already doing something that good people aren't really doing. We're getting in physical confrontation and getting in fist fight and hurting people for money. I don't feel the best about that. I love fighting. I love my career, but let's not act like we're doing anything that's like an example for people. So then on top of that, you treat people bad, you act a certain way. Like it's just not necessary. Like I said, the whole like this movement of like when he did an interview, like he got interviewed. I don't even know who asked him the question, but they asked him a question about some stuff that he said, and everyone's like, "You're baiting him. You're baiting him." Regardless of if he's being baited or not, right? Like, just if that's something you said, own it. Be like, hey, yeah, I said this.
Mhm.
This is how I feel. You don't have to be like, and whether I don't agree with what you said, but own it. Say this is what I said, and that's how I feel, and that be the end of it. Not tell the person who asked you the question, you're what's wrong with society. You're a weak man. You wish you want your son to be this way, or like whatever he was saying. It was so ridiculous to me, and like the fact that people were supporting that and acting like it was a normal response from an adult man is insane to me. And it's sad. And it's a testament to why my DMs look the way they look and other people's DMs look the way they look, because we live in this alternate reality where people think that's an appropriate response and it's not. And I'm not saying you have to have the same views as me. I don't believe that at all. You can have your views. That's one thing that's amazing about America. You can have your views, you can express your views, you can own your views. But so like everyone's like, just because you disagreed with him, you baited him into the question. No, they disagreed with him, so they asked him about the question because he has a huge platform, right? And then he was mad that the guy didn't agree with him, whoever asked him the question. So then he personally attacked that person. So everything they were accusing the guy of asking the question of doing, Sean Strickland did. So to me, I'm like, you guys just don't like, you're not intelligent enough, I guess, to even like understand what's going on. But I don't know, man. I have so many good people in my life. I've met that are gay, that are straight, that are religious, that aren't religious, like from every race. Like the narrow mindedness and close mindedness, and then the belief that that is what makes you a strong man or individual is it's that's actually poison. That's actually sickness and hate, and I just don't have time for it in my life, man. I really don't. And I don't have time for people that believe it, and I don't have time for people that support people that believe it. And yeah, like I said, I'll talk about this for hours because it was truly disgusting to me and upsetting to me. And yeah, I don't know, man. Just not a fan, and doesn't mean I hate the guy.
Right.
Doesn't mean I want him to lose his fights. I wouldn't hang out with him and have a beer, you know.
Gotcha. Understood. If he were to see this, see what you're saying, like what kind of a response would you expect from him in person? Do you think because you're a UFC fighter that can handle yourself, it would be different or not?
No, I think he would tell me I'm a weak man, or I'm what's wrong with society, right? Like that seems to be his go-to. So I'm sure that's what I would get. But at the end of the day, I know I'm strong. I'm raising strong girls. I'm a good husband. I treat my wife the right way. I treat my teammates the right way. I treat my family the right way. So, I don't, you're not going to chink my armor, bro. My armor
Mhm.
is rock solid. I know who I am as a man and a person. I know what I bring to society. I know what I bring to the table. And so no one's going to convince me that I'm a detriment to society. Right. I know better than that. And, so, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it also is what it is. Like all these confrontations you see, like they're just words. He's having a lot of confrontations with people. It's just words. And that's fine. I mean, if you're honest, that's what it should be.
Mhm.
If you're just fist fighting people for not agreeing with you, like that's not being a strong man,
Right.
in my opinion. Right. Like, I don't know. I'm sure people would be like, no, that is what strong men do. They get physical when people don't agree with them. But that's just not in my line of
And then
thinking.
they go
Right.
to
And
jail.
yeah, like people, I don't know, people would be like, well, you think that you can just say whatever you want. And I'm not saying that, but I feel like you can disagree with people and still be friends. I have friends that I really disagree with on a lot of topics that are my friends. And that's what you need. You need, if everyone just agrees with what you're doing, bro, you're not in society, you're in a cult. You're in
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
it's just not a real thing. You can be friends with people just because you have different beliefs or different ideologies or whatever. And that's how you find your best friends. But yeah, I don't know. Uh I don't know, man. It's a lot.
Well,
It's a lot. It makes my heart heavy to even like have the conversation about it because, you know, it started with Kobe telling Leon you go see your dad in hell, and then progressed from there to, you know,
mhm.
everybody being F words. And I'm gonna put you through your childhood trauma. Like, it was just a crazy
Mhm.
weekend of like, man, this is just gross. This is really gross. And you know, the other thing is like, you don't want people saying stuff about you, so don't say stuff about other people. That's how I feel too.
Mhm.
You'll never, and like people are like, well, if you want to dish it out, you gotta be able to take it. You'll never see me dish it out because I don't want to take it. I still have to, but I don't want to, and I don't think my family deserves that. They're not in the cage fist fighting, bro. So don't come after my family. Don't come after if you want to come after me, say I'm the biggest pussy and I'm a coward and I should lose all my fights and I suck at fighting. That's fine. I'll wear that. I'll eat it because I get in the cage and I can prove you wrong or prove you right. But going after families, going after beliefs, it's just there's no way to defend that. So seems like a low blow a little bit.
Oh, I could tell you're incredibly passionate about this topic, and I appreciate you diving into it as much as you have. For what it's worth, like to me, the strongest men, the strongest people out there are the ones who can be insulted and not come back with an insult. Like you can just walk away, smile, do whatever, but it's about being good to your fellow man, not, trying to tear people down. Those are the strongest people out there as far as I'm concerned, the ones that, can take that shit and don't have to give it back. They can just walk away, hold their head high, and know that they were good to their fellow person. So I'll leave it at that. But I'm in agreement with everything you're saying, man. And again, I appreciate you talking about it like you did. Before we do get out of here, I want to circle back here to this matchup with Bo. One of the things that I feel like, and I think you've talked about it a little bit, Cody, is the evolution just of your mindset and your confidence to where you're at right now as a professional mixed martial artist. How important is that, and how you've grown leading into this fight?
I think it's huge, man. I think, I put a lot of work. I have a sports psych guy I work with. I have, obviously do a lot of the physical work, but I do a lot of the mental work. And I've worked with him for my last like 6 fights, but sometimes it's just like physical work, right? Like you can't do a week of bench press and then go max bench press. It just won't work, right? It takes time and effort and practice and drilling. And so, I really started to feel like the fruits of that probably right after that Malkoon fight into Zach Reese, and now even more, just drilling and getting the practice and just being patient and present. That's the biggest thing. And if you watch my early fights, I'm a quick starter, but I'm a quick starter because I want to get out of there. And now I don't care. If the fight takes 15 minutes, it takes 15 minutes. And I'm not going to rush anything. I'm not going to put myself in a bad position just for the sake of ending the fight. And I think that's probably the biggest evolution of my game, right? Like most of the people I've fought, I've had them in trouble. I've put them in bad positions, and typically I lose because I put myself trying to get out of there, hunting a finish, which is a good thing, but hunting a finish so hard, I put myself in a bad position. I had top position on Cedricus 3 times, pulled guillotine 3 times. That's just a lack of patience and a lack of presence and a lack of uh, awareness. That's not necessarily a lack of skills, it's just a
Mhm.
lack of awareness. And Hidalgo had him hurt the whole first round, jumped guillotine because I want to get out of there so bad. And so making that transition to like let the fight come to me, let it play out how it's going to play out has been the biggest evolution. And uh, like I said, if I'm patient and present, I feel like I'm hard to beat.
With this fight against Bo, I think most people that would say, okay, how does Cody Brundage win this fight? Catch him early, stun him, TKO him, whether it's TKO sub, that would be maybe like the easiest or the most logical, course to a victory here. But with his, wrestling credentials, has this camp been one focused more on like your cardio to make sure, okay, worst case scenario, he gets me down early, I'm playing defense to get back up to my feet, and if I don't, make sure I survive to round two, so when I do start the second round, I'll be able to get back to my game plan. Like what is that mindset? What has Coach Montoya been focusing on with you for that aspect of the fight?
Yeah, so definitely the cardio of like the up down. Um, because I think the up down really takes more of a toll on him than me, to be honest. He has the anxiety of like not being comfortable on the feet. Excuse me. He has the anxiety of not being comfortable on the feet. I don't have that anxiety anymore. I'm comfortable wherever the fight's happening. So, as he's wrestling, sure, he's probably going to take me down. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. If I get back to my feet and I start hitting him in the face, it doesn't really mean much. And slowly, like you'll see, like, okay, these shots are getting more desperate, and then the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Now you're tired on the feet and your anxiety's high. And we've seen it. We've seen it a lot with like highly touted wrestling prospects specifically. They've run through everybody. They've been able to wrestle. They've never been the nail. And then somebody stops their wrestling a few times. The wrestling gets harder. Then they decide to stand, and then it's problems, And that's kind of my game plan is war of attrition a little bit. And then obviously, I definitely have the power to put him out early if that
Mhm.
happens, but I'm not hunting it.
Mhm.
If it happens, it happens. I feel like, it's going to be a lot of, him being frustrated. He wants to be in, he wants to be explosive. He wants to be, dictating, and it's my job to not allow that. And that creates frustration from him because that's all he's ever known. And then that's where mistakes are made and you run into something hard and now you're hurt and the fight's over.
Ultimately, when you close your eyes at night, how do you see this fight ending?
I think I knock him out. I think I knock him out late second, early third. Like I said, I feel like a war of attrition. I feel like the wrestling gets harder and harder and harder. And then, I've been there. All wrestlers have been there. You can ask any of them when you interview them, where you're like, is it worth it for me to go take this guy down or not? And you make the decision, I'm going to strike because it's not worth it. I'm not holding him down. I'm not doing damage. I'm not finding subs, and I'm getting really tired. And the fear of being tired comes before the fear of I'm going to get knocked out. So you stop wrestling, and him trying to stand with me is just not. It's not a good plan for him. I'm way more dynamic. I can do more with kicks, elbows, knees, punches, footwork, everything. I've had more time in. I'm more dynamic. I'm at a great striking gym, and I think I catch him when he's tired, and I think I get him out of there.
Can't wait for this one, man. This is going to be one of the fights I have circled. Getting in there, watching you get your hand raised. Hopefully, come fight night, it's going to be a fun one, man. April the 13th, UFC 300. Cody Brundage meets Bo Nickal. Look, man. As always, I appreciate your time. Thank you again, as always, for joining me. Before we do sign off, give you the floor. Anyone you want to thank? Anything you want to plug? Floor is yours.
I just want to thank my gym, Factory X, uh, and Barwis Strength and Conditioning, and then Iridium Sports Agency, and then just my wife and my family. I got a great team around me. I got a lot of people that believe in me. I got a lot of people that don't believe in me, but I got more people, that I see daily that do. So I'm excited, man. It's gonna be good. I feel like, it's funny. Like, so like I said, I sparred Rob 4 rounds a day. Rob's world champ at 205. And I was like, man, somebody was telling me how these odds are crazy for your fight. I'm like, well, if I fought Rob, I bet the odds would be similar. And I fight him every week. So I'm not that worried about it, but yeah, man, I'm excited. It's gonna be good. Huge opportunity for me. I'm working hard, training hard. When I hit the cage door, I know that I left no stone unturned. So I'm excited to have the performance I think I'm capable of. And I always appreciate you having me on, bro. You've been with me since the early days, and I look forward to the next one.